All right. I'm excited as always. I always bring you guys the best of the best guests. And it's so fun when things come full circle. This next individual leader that you're going to hear from, we first met, he was brand new to the profession. It was like 2018, kind of followed each other, seeing what's gone on the last several years. That was like the very beginning of my coaching, transitioning out of building, figuring out what am I going to do with this public speaking, coaching, writing books. I think my first book was almost out. And then we met 2018. And the cool part is we're going to hear about his story here in just a second, but he's got over 50,000 customers. That's kind of a big deal around the world. And what I want to get into is a couple of things is he's built with all different generations, but I think a unique niche is also being able to build with the younger generation and international. Those are questions that I get asked all of the time utilizing social media. It's like 3 topics where we could just cover one and go on and on and on. So my man, like, talk to me a little bit. Tell me a little bit about, we talked about this for a while, but tell me a little bit about the journey of, what's been the hardest part about network marketing?
Well, Rob, first and foremost, I appreciate you inviting me on. It's definitely an honor and a pleasure. If I go back in time, and I would say the hardest is kind of transitioning from that employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset, because I know based on my team, a lot of people kind of come into network marketing as a part-time hustle or a side hustle, but they're coming with the same that employee mindset where I need to get paid to do something. And the problem is in entrepreneurship, it works backwards. I pay and then I get to do something. And it took me some time. I'll be transparent. I truly believe it may took me at least 6 months to 8 months to just get it through my head. Although I was reading, I was attending all the calls. I was on every call. I was every Zoom. I was in every training.
So Rakan, you were, when you started, you were an employee before. You didn't come in as an entrepreneur or transition.
No, yeah. I was an employee. I used to work at a gym.
Okay, great.
And, I've done a lot of sales at the gym. And there's 2 things that were main roadblocks to me. Number one is that I wasn't getting paid, right? And then the second thing is I thought network marketing was completely sales. So let me close a person. I was trying to read all these books about closing. And I forgot all the invitation and the main but I just focused on the closing, because if I can just talk to a lot of people, I can close a lot of people. And I truly believe that was possibly a wrong mindset to come in, as I wanted to close people, right? It was just, it kind of had this negative impact. But yes, I used to work at a gym. I transitioned. I want to do this part-time. Then I kind of saw that this can possibly be for myself, for my future self, full-time. And I started transitioning into how can I, make this a full-time thing. The problem is it wasn't paying me. So, sometimes when it's not paying you, you don't have that full energy that you're going at it. And then, I didn't have any success for 1.5 years. I'll say 1 year and 3 months. No success, not a single check.
Wow. Yeah. And going along with that, I mean, I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, it took some time.
How did you not quit?
But I truly believe one of the things that kept me in the game, number one, is the culture for my uplines that they had. So I'm thankful that I've had some good uplines around. I've had some good cultures. And in the beginning, the personal development part, listening to you or listening to kind of anybody that was really giving a lot of value. And I don't really have a lot of money at that point. So I kind of went on YouTube and kind of figure out the watching every YouTube. And I always figured that there's always a small missing piece. And as long as I unlock this missing piece, I'm going to be successful. So by the time it's been 1 year, I've got so many small points that it accumulated to something big. And this is what I truly believe I started having success.
That's pretty crazy. How many countries is your business in now?
Oof. Definitely over 40. Absolutely. I actually don't know the actual, but definitely over. I've been to 16 countries last year for a tour.
Jeez, so, that's what I got to was 40 countries. So I figured you were going to say 41 just to, just to top it. That's pretty amazing journey. Cause I know that, and this goes for all of you guys, just to understand. We talk about all the time, the network marketing profession of you got good stocks And even the good stocks, they go through the down times and the down moments. Like currently right now, one of my friends is a top corporate person at Adobe, and Adobe's actually crushed it in sales, but their stock's down 25% right now from its peak 5 months ago. And people just don't realize this. They say they realize it, but they can't handle the lows. And the lows happen. We're drama kings and queens, right? We exaggerate our successes. We exaggerate our failures. And all of a sudden it's just like, oh, this thing's just not working, right? They don't take responsibility. They don't truly focus on the process. And so I love that you did that. I love hearing your story, because I think sometimes, we hear just the fast success and we don't hear the struggles that people had and what they went through. And now you've transitioned into building your business internationally. So if you were to give some top tips, because I get this all the time, this is actually a question that was asked to me recently from a personal coaching client. How would one go about building their business internationally? Like, let's just say they just have no clue. Let's say they're not from another country. They're from whatever their current country is they're tuning into right now. And they're like, my company's expanding. How do I build in another country? Cool.
Well, I'll share a story of, two stories about the first one was my Middle East team, and the second one was my Latino team. These are two cultures that I've been obsessed with. I'm Middle Eastern, so I somewhat like my culture. And then the Latino culture, I kind of started falling in love because I used to work while I was doing network marketing in the beginning. I used to work at it was like a Latino club, right? So
do you speak Spanish now?
I definitely do not speak a word of Spanish. I tried to have a couple of words just in case, I tried to talk to somebody, but definitely not enough to hold a conversation. But so I remember these was my two parts. So in the beginning, I'm like, okay, well, let me build with what I know, right? The language that I speak Arabic. So let me build it with the language that I know. And you got to understand that, for me to build the Middle East, it took like 3 years, literally 3 years to actually build the Middle East. And here's what I think there's steps to it. So let's say my company is expanding in currently the Middle East right now. And what I did, I'll never forget this day. I called a couple of my leaders. They were Arab, but they were here in Toronto, or the Arabic speaking. And I started telling them that we're going to do this. Now, you ever told somebody something like, ugh, because I've said the same sentence 1,000 times, like, okay, this is going to be it. We're going to now build the Middle East. You've told us this at least 450 times. Like, is this really the one? And the reason why I failed prior is because, I said we're going to do it, but I wasn't really consistent with it. And the first thing that I did is I opened up my Facebook and my Instagram, and literally not an Arabic speaker, anybody that has even remotely close of an Arabic name, I shot a message to. I'm like, I'm launching a business, and I want you to see this. And I truly, even in like a week and a half span, I've messaged at least 2,000 people. Now, this is not always. This is just I was just obsessed for 2 weeks, and I'm like, this is my time to actually build it. And what's funny, and this is why I was telling one of my teams yesterday. I was telling them, I'm like, you never know who comes through who, because I've had a guy that have been wanting to join he's in the Middle East. They've been wanting to join my business for at least since I got started. And this is a friend that I know from like when we were really young. But every time I like send him a link, he doesn't sign up, or I don't have the money, or let me figure this out, or he just gives me any excuse. So I naturally stopped like wasting my time with him. And when I don't know why I reset to him again, and I'm like, listen, I need, like, you've been trying to sign up for 2 years. I want you to get me somebody that will build this in the Middle East. It's like, yeah, but I've heard the from him. So I just kind of ignored it and I moved on. He calls me possibly 4 days after, and he puts me on a phone call with a random kid, just random kid. He's like, okay, so I heard there's a business launching. Well, what's going on? And in the most botchiest way, in the like, I just kind of tell him kind of what's going on in a very quick 2-minute pitch. I tell him what's going on. He's like, okay, send me a video, and I'll add you on Facebook. I'll message you there. I'm like, well, this is definitely not gonna go well, but here's a video, and I did like the worst kind of video. And this is kind of one of the tips that I would tell somebody: if you have an opportunity video in your, in that language, have it there, because you're gonna send it out. If you do not, there's like rev.com, right? You can literally go there and pay like let's say the video is 20 minutes. You can literally pay $20, $30, and you can translate the entire thing in that line, whatever line they have, like so many languages. You can translate that video into a different language.
Yep.
So
guys,
whenever you
rev.com, they'll do either captions if you want,
captions,
or they'll do subtitles if you want in any language. And it's what, $1 a minute?
Yeah, $1 a minute. It's really cheap.
Worth it.
Yeah, definitely worth it. So, well, I spoke Arabic, so I've had, I just shot an Arabic video. I literally went on Zoom, I click record. It was no crazy cameras. There was nothing. I just click record. I shared my screen and I explained, and I tried as much as I can to make it 15, 20 minutes. Just really getting the point across, not explaining all the details. So he calls me a couple days after. He's like, I want to get started. So I'm like, okay, well, I've had this belief that building international teams always comes with smaller packages. And it's just, I don't know why, it's just a belief. I've always thought the Middle East was broke. I think the Middle East has more money than North America, but that's my belief right now. Back in the days, I just had this belief that, well, because they're in Africa or because they're in this country or in this country, they won't buy the biggest package. So he came to me like, oh, I want to buy the big package. I'm like, it's $1,500. Like, I don't know if you switch that into our currency, that's a lot of money. Like, yeah, that's fine. But I felt like he saw my limiting belief that, I didn't believe that this is going to be sold. But anyway, he actually got started with the biggest package. And today, this guy is pretty much the number one earner in my team in the Middle East. He has at least 17,000 active members in the Middle East, all selling bigger packages because of this guy's belief. So so from the 2,000 people that I messaged, not even one. Some of them signed up with me as customers and stuff, but not even one was actually a builder. It came through somebody that I contacted. So it was a taproot of somebody that didn't even sign up. To this day, didn't sign up.
Old school principle, tap rooting, that isn't taught or talked about enough. It's the art of sponsoring a circle of influence, because regular distributors sponsor other distributors and customers, whereas leaders sponsor circles of influence.
Yeah.
And, I just think that going through that and even going through those specific numbers, like people say how bad they want it and they're willing to do whatever it takes, but they truly treat this like net lottery ticket marketing, net hoping, net wishing, net dreaming, net looking around, right? Because you go look at their activity and they work 22 hours for the week, but how many new people did you reach out to? And they didn't reach out to anybody new. And that's what I harp on the most is, most people could actually get more done in part-time work if they focus than when they transition into so-called full-time and they're fake working. And so just hearing those numbers and what happened and how it transitioned, and you asked a really simple question, and that's one of the top questions for building international. Who do you know? Who do you know that's in this country? Who do you know that has connections to this country, right? Who do you know that loves this country? Like, just asking that question. They used to say prior to social media, if you know 7 people, you know the entire world. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true. And then social media came out and I'm like, that's 100% and completely true as you go. Well, you've also been able to work your business with, all generations. But with the younger generation, I get that question a lot. Like, people are like, right, what do I do? And how do I build? And I just think that, that's something as we see the younger generation, what they love. I mean, they love lifestyle. Like, I give an example to people. The younger generation would rather make $50,000 a year and do what they want when they want than the old school make $80,000 a year and be handcuffed by time, work, job, right? Where they don't have that. So maybe speak a little bit to, what would you say to me if I came to you, Rakan, and I'm like, dude, I just really want to be able to attract some younger generation. They got so much energy. What do I do?
Well, I truly believe you need to mirror their energy. That's number one. But number two, Rob, if you look at, if you listen to music, right? If you look to listen to the new generation music, what are they talking about?
Lifestyle.
It's a lot of lifestyle. It's a lot of, I want to, travel the world or first class, whatever. Yeah. I don't really listen to the
Lambo generation.
I feel like I'm older than them, but I totally agree with what you said. they would rather make 50 grand a year doing what they love rather than making even 200 grand a year doing what they hate. Like, and I've seen this firsthand. And I think I'm one of them. I used to make good money on my job, but I felt like I was just stuck in a corner. There was no, end destination. So for anybody that's trying to build with younger people, a part of it is lifestyle, and the second part of it is you got to look what the young generation is doing, right? So let's talk. Take a simple example. TikTok right now, you can tell what the trends are, right? You can go on your For You page, like the main page, and you can just scroll and see what the younger generation is looking at. And what I've taught my team is you'd have to somewhat mimic being relatable to younger people, because I'm 26. And I'm the oldest. Like people call me dad on the team, and I'm like, don't disrespect me, please. Like I'm not.
So I'm like great grandpa.
Like my upline is 30, and we came to a point where I called him the godfather of my team. He was so upset. Didn't talk to me for a week. He's like, what do you mean call me a godfather? I'm 30, man. Like don't make me older as I older than I am. But here's the reality of things. If you look at TikTok, Instagram, any of these social media platforms, you can really tell what the younger generation is looking for. You can tell what they're listening to. You can tell by the trends. You can tell by the trends. Like, we had a training on social media the other day, and I was telling them, I'm like, you just gotta follow what the younger people are doing. Who started TikTok? It's younger. It's the damn thing. Younger. Now, there's in the beginning, thank God, there were some smart people that are like, okay, well, this would be smart for business, and they kind of transition that into a business with some lifestyle, with some, I want to be relatable to these people. And you got to understand, and this is because I have a lot of older people on my team, and the one thing that they said, which I do not agree with, is like, oh, sometimes I can't relate to these younger people, and this is, I feel like it's just a mindset. A flip, because yes, you can. You're older, so you have more experience, and that's kind of what you lead with. Like, kids, I have more experience than you. This is what happened in the past, and I truly believe the easiest thing that we can do with the old generation to relate to the younger generation is stories. The old generation, they have books of stories. Like, if I sit down with my grandmother, she's gonna pull up so many stories, and you'll see me like just. As soon as she says stories, I'll like stop whatever I'm doing and I'll just listen. I just want to know. Like, one day I was wondering, I'm like, how did my mom and dad meet? Like, I want to hear that story because I've never heard that story. Nobody told me that story. And I couldn't believe it. I'm always on my phone. For an hour, I didn't even touch my phone because she was just sharing that story. And this is when I discovered, I'm like, well, I truly believe the older generation can relate through stories, relate through what's happening in the trends. And they can, recruit a lot of younger people. And by the way, all you got to do is train the younger people to relate to all the younger people. And then now you have a team.
I think it's hilarious when I hear people tell me that, well, the younger generation doesn't want to work, because I've worked, a lot of the younger generation that I worked. I had one of the largest teams in the world of younger generation. And I was amazed that when they had the vision, they were always working. Even when they were out on the lake, like hanging out with friends, and they're asking me to do like things at like 11 p.m. at night. And I feel like I'm the old dude, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm like, these guys are crazy. So,
because it's more of as I said, it's more the younger generation. They want to do what they love. So if you can market to that part, like the younger people really just want freedom. I'm telling you, you can give a younger person $50,000 a year. I'm like, you have all the freedom in the world. I don't need more money. It's fine.
It's just so different. And we have, like, think about it. It's the perfect model for them.
It's true.
It is the perfect model for them.
I agree.
And I think too many times, like you said, people buy their limiting beliefs of, I just don't understand. No, there's people that are your age you don't understand. There's always things there's different personalities. You're like, I would never do it like that. So stop classifying it as just a generation and looking for reasons why not, and instead start justifying the reasons why this is the absolute perfect thing. That's actually what I had to do when I started network marketing. I created my old school list, and I had to look at my list, and I had to think, this is the reasons why they should do this. Because at the beginning it was, oh, they're too rich. Oh, they're too poor. Oh, they're too busy. Oh, they have too much time. They're lazy. And I had to reverse that to start justifying the complete opposite of why this could be like the most perfect fit for them. Well, you've absolutely just smashed on social media. I'm really impressed on your understanding of just branding. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with that word. What's a brand? How do I build my brand? But I love the fact that, you know, it's you. What do people think about you? Your brand isn't what you think it is. It's what the world thinks it is. And with social media, it's a way to be front of mind of people. It's a way to bridge that gap of likability, credibility, and trust, not in a fake way if you do it right. I mean, the ultimate compliment is when I meet people in person and they're like, Rob, I've never met you before, but that's weird. I feel like I know you. Yeah. So for you, crushing it on social media, what would you give as some of, maybe start with like maybe some beginner tips if someone sucks, right? We love you to death, but you suck and you're not doing anything. You want to get started, to someone that's like, no, I'm already pretty good at the basics and I want to go next level at social media.
Got it. Well, social media is divided into multiple platforms, right? And I love what you said, Rob, about, people that are meeting you and they're telling you, I've never met you, but I feel like I've heard your story before. And I remember one of your stories is that when you got started, you made a big check. Yeah. And then you quit your job. And then, it was just a bonus check and you just didn't realize that. But I feel like that's, to me, that was, well, it wasn't relatable because I didn't really make money my first year, but I just feel like a lot of people would relate to that, right? Like I've had some people on my team that I shared your story because they had the exact same story. So I just feel like social media is all about stories. It's all about I collect as many stories as I can to be able to share them with either social media or person with my team. But let's just, go into the branding part. If you divide social media, let's just say we divide it into, there's a lot of other stuff like LinkedIn and all the other, but let's just talk about the three major ones, which is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, right? It's what's right now working. And the reason why is because you can tell the reels on Facebook, the reels on Instagram, there's a major focus on. And then you have the TikTok, of course. Now, TikTok has changed, and then they keep changing the algorithms. And this is why I tell people, branding is not a one-time understanding thing. It's an ongoing, you want to see what it keeps changing. Instagram changed their, I think they had a problem with their algorithm, the past 6 months. And it's really brought down, like a lot, if you go on YouTube and you just write Instagram algorithm change, you'll see all these influencers complaining about how Instagram kind of cut their views in a massive way. But, with every problem, there's an opportunity. So if they cut the views, why did they cut the views? Well, they cut your story views because they're trying to push reels. So all I got to do is find out the reels that are moving. So I can
saw that with lives, right? It used to be lives because they were trying to compete.
Yeah, exactly. And
then it was stories because they were trying to compete with Snapchat. And now it's reels because they're trying to compete with TikTok for market share, for eyeballs, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's a huge insight, guys. Listen, pay attention.
And then TikTok, I'm going to come back to Instagram because I don't want to forget that point. Even with TikTok, they have even changed their algorithm because they're no longer, because in the beginning, they weren't competing with nobody, right? And then Instagram came up with their reels. And they're like, okay, well, let's change our strategy. So now they're competing with YouTube. I think it's called YouTube Shorts.
Yep.
So what's you notice on TikTok, you find a 2-3 minute video. Like I'm not used. TikTok is supposed to be like a 15-second one, but the ones that are really moving, there are 2-3 minute ones. But well, Instagram doesn't have Instagram had changed it again that they allowed more minutes. But my point is that you gotta keep somewhat, in refreshing your understanding of how branding works and what's happening right now. So if we're looking at Facebook, I've had an older person on my team. She's like 57. She calls me one day, and this is how she calls me. My team doesn't call me; they text me. She calls me one day. It's like, "Hey, Rakan." I'm like, "Hi." She's like, "Well, I'm trying to figure out this branding thing." I'm like, "Okay, how can I help?"
I'm still laughing. You're like, she called you. I guarantee you were like, what? Like, what are you calling me? Even if you love her to death, what?
So she calls, not even a FaceTime. Like she literally like calls my phone number. You know what I mean? So she calls me. She's like, "I'm trying to figure out this branding thing." I'm like, "Okay, what do you feel like you struggle with?" She's like, "Well, we've taught a lot of people on how to do TikToks and how to do reels. So she understands the content part, but she doesn't understand where to put it. I'm like, okay, well, you notice that there's a lot of people on our team focused on Reels and TikToks, Instagram and TikTok, but not many people are focused on the Facebook Reels. And I'm like, you should do something, because I haven't really, to be honest with you, I haven't posted any reel on Facebook, but I've seen other success stories. And I literally went on YouTube and I gave her some videos that she should watch about Facebook Reels. She does like a challenge between her and herself, like 14 days, where she posted every single day, more relatable content. There's one of her videos, I think hit like 2 million views, right? Thousands of comments. And she like now her, because she was complaining that she doesn't get enough leads. Now we're kind of have too much leads. I don't know what to do with them. And this is literally, we're talking in a 14-day span. Like I'm not talking, it took her 6 months, 14-day span where she posted it I think twice a day or something. I'm not too sure exactly what it is, but I think twice a day, one in the morning, one at night. One of the, relatability videos, it just blew off. And now she just has way more, leads that she can ever imagine. So going back to branding, she figured out her niche, the people that she can relate to. And even if those were older people, it's fine. That's a lot of older people talking to you. Right. So Reels is the same thing and TikTok is the same thing. You just got to find kind of what's trending and what's working right now. And you got to be able to kind of move with it.
And what connects with you, like you said.
And what connects.
That's important. Sometimes people are like, I got to get on TikTok and I got to dance and I'm not a dancer. There's so many people that are.
I've never had
TikTok.
I don't know if I've ever danced on TikTok. But trying to think.
Yeah, it's like people just don't realize that. Yeah. And then I think also as well is there's so many moving pieces and parts. Yeah, you find one platform you focus on.
Yeah, 100%.
And then as you get better, like she did, 14 days, then you start to take that content and you repurpose on multiple platforms, because we never know when something happens, an algorithm, massively, there's no traction here, but then this platform's getting more traction and certain people are only on TikTok and barely on, Facebook, and others are just on Instagram. So it's like, it doesn't take that much longer. And then eventually you're going to get next level where you get an assistant that helps you with this stuff. We're just trying to cast the vision for everybody that's from a beginner to intermediate to advanced as you go, because that's what's so fun about this profession is there's always more to do. So last question.
Yeah.
If you were to, and I'm one of those people, when you ask me a question, sometimes I give a different answer like 10 times in a row, because it's what's top of my mind, just full disclosure. If you were to say the top reason why network marketers fail, fill in the blank, what would you say?
The top reason why network marketers fail. I was reading something today.
See, it's based on a friend of mine, man.
I was reading something today, and let me find it. And I truly believe, like, maybe this, cliches are cliches because they're true. Having a team of 50,000 people, I've seen a good people, like people that I wished that they just could have just been a little bit more consistent and a little bit more just at it, and they would have been superstars. Like there's some people that are just naturally gifted, right? And if you listen to this, just know that you have a gift. I don't know what it is. There's God has created you with a certain gift, and your job is to kind of figure out what that gift is. I know some people on my team that are really good with stories. I know some people on my team that are really good with recruiting. I know some people on my team that are really good with social media branding. I know some people on my team that are really like if you sit down one-to-one, you feel like you're the only person in the world they're ever talked to. And I have some people on exact opposite on social media. They talk on social media, you feel like, oh my God, I can listen to her stories for like forever. So, but I read something and it said the pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects us to change, the leader adjusts the sail. And I believe that everybody should be responsible for their attitudes. Rob, this one when our company was not doing well.
Yeah.
And I just looked around and I didn't get my emotional side to start reacting with everything that was happening, because we had a rough drop that I had to kind of figure if I'm the leader that I'm saying I am, and I am the guy that's gonna, save my team, because my team is looking at me as, okay, what's next? Like, what are you gonna do now? And when I take that emotional side of it, that emotional part, and I really focus on, correcting my own attitude and taking responsibility of the actions that's going to happen. This is where my business has started changing. And when we took that big drop, and it was November, December 2019. I had to kind of sit down with myself close to New Year's and just really speak to me. Like, listen, if this is the thing that you really want to keep doing, there's some course of action that needs to change. And my attitude towards what's happening right now needs to change, because everything changes with attitude. I've never forget the story. I remember I had a guy on my team, that superstar, like this kid has came in and had so much success so fast. And one time I called him and I'm like, listen, it's not always sunshines and rainbows. Like you're gonna take a punch at one point. Like I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but I'm trying to get you to understand that that's how business is. Like, yeah. But I think right now we're just up. Okay. Fine by me. And that day came and he lost a percentage of his team. So he calls me right away. So as soon as he calls me, I start laughing. He's like, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you laughing? And I'm like, remember the call that we had, me and you? He's like, yeah, I remember it. But he was like, I wasn't calling you for that. He was calling me to tell me what the upcoming course of action he's going to do. And I was like, this is a younger individual. We're talking 20 years old.
Wow.
Right. He kept me speechless that when a big percentage of your group is just not doing it no more, the people that you have built from ground zero, they just said, we're done. We're out. You're by yourself. He's literally by himself, calls me. He's like, here's my course of actions. Is there anything I can tweak so I can go to the next level? But it will, and by the way, 90 days after that, he's created 10 times bigger of a team than the team that left. 90 days, 3 months. And I know why. It's because of his attitude. He didn't call me to complain. He didn't call me. He called me to give me the course of action that he was going to take. So he corrected his attitude that we're going to take some action and we're going to go. So I truly believe the number one reason why people fail in network marketing is, number one, they always blame everybody else but themselves, and they don't have the right attitude.
Isn't it crazy when you really think about it? I'll finish with this thought. It's so simple. I always say successful people just do the basics better.
I agree.
Your mind is either going to focus on solutions or problems. It's that simple. Your mind is insanely powerful. Are you using that power to create more problems and self-sabotage your business? Or are you using that mind to put the puzzle together, the pieces of the puzzle? And yeah, you're going to have the setbacks. It's inevitable. But this individual, this young leader, he used it as a way to say, you know what, I'm going to create even a better puzzle this time. I have to start over again. Okay, well, let's create some new pieces and, let's put this together bigger, better, faster, right? And I know it's like, so we've both been through the massive struggles, right? I remember working 80 hours a week, making less than $400 in the month, my 5th month in the business. Like, we've been through it. Yeah. So we're not just like talking from, like, we know like how bad you want it. We know, but you just shared so many powerful stories that hopefully inspire all of you to get into action, because don't be the broken know-it-all. You're not going to learn your way from just watching and studying. That's good, but great is actually taking action on it. So I just want to say thanks so much for coming on. I'm glad we didn't have any questions beforehand. We just went with it. You guys know that's my style. So everything was completely intuitive. Rock on, my man. I just want to say thank you so much for being on. Where can everybody find you on social media?
At Bank of Khalifa.
At Bank of Khalifa.
Bank of Khalifa.
All right. That'll be easy. Go find it.
It'll be very easy.
Facebook, Instagram,
Facebook,
TikTok,
Khalifa.
Everywhere, man.
Everywhere. Same name.
All right, my brother. Until the next time, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.